Hey guys, we're going to dive into lesson 63 and it's on Muhammad, the spread of Islam. It's on page 419 in your text. And we're going to go ahead and do lesson review while we're reading the chapter. And that is on page 32 of your lesson review. So let's go ahead. We're going to jump in and just get started here. In the 600s, an Arab born on the Arabian Peninsula began a new religion. His followers quickly spread his ideas throughout the Middle East and into North Africa and other parts of the world. Sometimes they did so by teaching and persuading, but other times they forced people to join this new religion. So a lot of times they would stop people that were going from one place to another place, and they would force them to become followers of Islam, which we know that religion should be by choice, that Jesus is a gentleman. He never forces anybody to follow him, right? So that's, you can look at the differences here, and we've talked about Father Abraham. If we were in class right now, I would make you guys do Father Abraham had many sons. I would do that. And so one son is the seed of the Messiah, and another son is the seed of Islam. And so we talked about Ishmael and Isaac, and that's where Ishmael is where the religion of Islam comes from. That's where that descendant line comes from. And then Christianity comes from Isaac, the line, but they were both Abraham's sons. It's very interesting. Okay, back to the text. We're in paragraph 2. Arabs are an ethnic group that originated on the Arabian Peninsula, which is also called Arabia. We have mentioned Arabia and the Arabian Peninsula several times in our lessons, and the Persian Gulf, which is an arm of the Arabian Sea, it borders Arabia on the east. Arabia is bonded on the west by the Red Sea. And remember the Red Sea, that's what Moses parted when they were trying to get away from the Egyptians. That was that sea. God spoke to Moses from the burning bush while Moses was living in Midian on the Arabian Peninsula. Sheba is located there. The spice road went through Arabia, and Arabs were heavily involved in the spice and incense trade. And it was the Arabs who made up the fanciful tales about where some of those spices originated. And we talked about those in earlier chapters, lesson 40. Arabs speak Arabic and have many Arabic traditions. Around the year 600, most Arabs were nomad shepherds. And remember, nomads are the ones who lived in tents and kind of wandered. They didn't have home structures, buildings. They had tents and they wandered. Although some lived in cities and a few were international traders, Arabs were among those present on the day of Pentecost. And that the day of Pentecost is described in Acts 2, and many Arabs had become Christians in the centuries since then. And you remember Peter was the one who first preached at Pentecost, and there were 3,000 that got baptized from that sermon that day. In the year 600, a large number of Arabs still believed in many gods and other spiritual beings. Okay, the birth of an Arab named Muhammad. In 570, a boy was born into a powerful Arabian family in the trading city of Mecca in the western Arabian Peninsula in what is now called Saudi Arabia. There's our answer for question number 1. Question number 1 was, when and where was Muhammad born? And we are talking about Muhammad. That's the last paragraph on page 419. The answer is he was born in 570. And where was he born? The second part of that answer, he was born in Mecca. And if you need to know how to spell that, it's on page 419. It's the last paragraph. All right, question number 2. By the time of Muhammad's death, how much had his new religion spread? I think we're going to read a little bit before we get to his death. So let's keep tracking, okay? He was given the name Muhammad. That makes sense. His father died before he was born, and his mother died when he was only 6 years old. That's kind of sad. That's really sad. His grandfather reared him until he also died 2 years later. Aww. At which time Muhammad came into the care of his uncle. Muhammad became a merchant. While working as a trader, he learned about Judaism and Christianity. Now, Judaism is different than Christianity. Judaism is just the study of the Old Testament. You only believe the Old Testament. You don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. You don't believe in the New Testament. Now, there are some Messianic Jews who are Christian who believe the Old Testament and the New Testament. But Judaism that's the religion of just the Old Testament. They don't believe the Messiah has come. They don't believe Jesus was the Messiah. All right, so when he was 25, we're back on page 420. When he was 25, he began working for a wealthy widow. When the widow, who was 40 years old, proposed marriage, Muhammad accepted. All right, Muhammad starts a new religion. Believing that one true deity revealed truth to him, Muhammad began a new religion when he was 40 years old. He called his deity, his God, Allah. Muhammad decided that he should tell others what he believed Allah revealed to him. Muhammad's central message was that Allah was the one true God and that Muhammad was the last true prophet in the line of prophets that included, this is the line of prophets that he believed in, Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Solomon, and Jesus. He believed that Jesus was a prophet. He didn't believe that Jesus was the Messiah, but he believed that Jesus was a prophet. Though a few family members accepted his teachings, Muhammad's message was not popular in Mecca, and many denounced him as a blasphemer. A blasphemer is somebody who is trying to, a blasphemer, somebody who is basically twisting what you believe and making it something different and not good in their eyes. So that's interesting. Muslims believe that Muhammad made a trip to Jerusalem in 621. While there, they believe that he ascended to heaven one night and spoke with Allah, who told him what he wanted Muhammad to do and teach. They believe that that event took place from the mount that had been the site of the Jewish temple. Many Jews believe that this was the same place where Abraham went to sacrifice Isaac according to God's instruction. In 622, Muhammad and his handful of followers fled to the city of Yathrib. Inhabitants of Yathrib received him well, and he began to build a larger following. Muhammad changed the name of the city to Medina, which means city of the prophet. The year 622 became year 1 for his followers. Islam begins to spread. Muhammad's goals were to unite the Arab world in one faith, to end paganism, remember paganism's where you worship many gods, and to influence Arab tribes to stop fighting each other. Muhammad believed that everyone should submit to him as the true prophet of Allah. See definitions of common Muslim terms below. Okay, the word Islam the actual word means to submit. Muhammad believed that people should to submit to Allah and to him, the only true prophet. The word Muslim means a submitted person. Well, that makes sense. The word jihad means holy war. Muhammad believed that Allah instructed him and his followers to use force to convert people to his religion. Use force meaning scaring people, meaning threatening them, maybe hurting them. They used force to convert people to the religion of Islam, and that should never happen. You should never use force to make somebody believe what you believe, okay? All right, the word Hijra or Hijra means a journey from a dangerous situation. Muhammad's journey from Mecca to Yathrib or Medina was a Hijra, okay? Muhammad and his followers began teaching and converting, sometimes by force, pagans, people who were worshiping many gods. The city of Mecca surrendered to Muslim fighters in 630, and Muhammad returned to the city in triumph. Mecca was the home of a shrine called Kaaba that housed many pagan idols, as well as a black stone believed to have fallen from heaven. Many pilgrims came to this shrine to worship idols. The Muslims destroyed the idols in Kaaba, but kept the black stone as a symbol of the new faith. When Muhammad died in 632, he died. Remember that question for number 2? By the time of Muhammad's death, how much had his new religion spread? And all that means is how many more people started following this new religion of Islam. When Muhammad died, this is on page 421, the end of the first paragraph, in 632, most of Arabia had become Muslim, and that's our answer for number 2. By the time of his death, most of Arabia had become Muslim. All right. Question number 3. What is the Quran? Maybe you've heard that word before. What is the Quran? Well, I have a feeling we're going to find out in the next paragraph because it says the Quran. So here we go. Shortly after his death, followers of Muhammad collected his teachings into a book called the Quran. So what is the Quran? Well, it's a collection of his teachings in a book. That's on page 421. It's the first sentence in the second paragraph. Followers of Muhammad collected his teachings into a book called the Quran. All right. The last question is, what is the Dome of the Rock? Where is it located? And what does it commemorate? Those are 3 questions. That's a lot of questions. Let's see if we can find it, okay? All right. Muhammad was influenced by the Old and New Testaments, but he denied that Jesus was the Christ and the unique Son of God. He denied Jesus. As we indicated earlier, he believed that many people mentioned in the Bible were prophets. The Arabs traced their descendant through Ishmael. Remember, we talked about that at the beginning. Ishmael is the son that was born to Abraham. It was born through his wife's maidservant because she was not able to get pregnant. And so she wanted a child, and so she asked her husband to conceive a child through the maidservant, and Ishmael was born. But then God comes in and he says, I'm going to give you a son, and it's going to be in your old age, right? And so she gives birth, the wife Sarah gives birth to Isaac. And so we have Ishmael and Isaac, and God promises to make both of them fruitful, and obviously that has happened here. Okay, so let's keep reading. I bet it's in here, and I don't. Okay, Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and Hagar. Hagar was the name of the maidservant. Muhammad taught that Allah instructed Abraham to sacrifice Ishmael, not Isaac. Muslims consider the following to be the 5 pillars of central teachings of Islam. Here are their 5 pillars. Believe that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad and his prophet. Say a ritual prayer 5 times per day while kneeling and facing toward Mecca. That's where he was born. Give to the poor. Fast, which means you don't eat, you pray instead of eating. Fast during daylight in the month of Ramadan. And make a pilgrimage to Mecca and perform certain rituals there if possible. And you can look at those photos to the right of people that have traveled to Mecca to make rituals there, Muslims. All right, so we're still looking for what is the Dome of the Rock, where is it located, and what does it commemorate? What is it for? After the death of Muhammad, various families tried to control the Islamic movement. The Umayyad family came to power and moved the political capital of Islam to Damascus in Syria. And we hear about Damascus, the road to Damascus in the Bible. The Umayyads established a caliphate. A caliph is considered to be a successor to Muhammad. A caliphate is his domain. So they established somebody that came behind Muhammad as a leader. Muslims captured Jerusalem in 638. In 691 or 692, during the rule of the Umayyad family, Muslims constructed the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount to commemorate Muhammad's supposed ascent, which means he went up to heaven from the Temple Mount. And that's our answer, part of our answer for question number 4. It's on page 421. What is the Dome of the Rock? The Dome of the Rock is a temple mount, and it's there to commemorate Muhammad. It's the other part of our question. To commemorate, what is it there to remember? It's there so that they can remember that Muhammad went up into heaven from the Temple Mount, okay? And that's your answer. And it starts with Muslims constructed the Dome of the Rock, okay? And that's on the bottom paragraph of page 421. All right, the last question. Shortly after Muhammad's death, Muslims began to divide into what 2 groups? Let's keep reading. All right, in 705, they completed the Al-Aqsa Mosque beside the dome. Artifacts from the time of the Umayyad Caliphate are pictured on 423. We're turning the page to 422. Muslims continued to invade other lands. By 720, the Muslims controlled an area that extended from western India, which is modern-day Pakistan, across the Middle East and northern Africa and into Spain. You can see that on the map, which is below on page 422. At that time, Muslims generally let Christians and Jews live and worship as they wished in their empire as long as they paid a tax and did not engage in warfare. Wow, they sound a lot like the Romans, don't they? That's what the Romans did. The Muslims tried to advance further into Europe, but in 732, an army led by Charles Martel, the Hammer, defeated the Muslim forces at the Battle of Tours in France. Islam transformed the Arab world. It became a culture dominated. Oh, hold on, low battery. Are you there? Okay. It became a culture dominated by the Muslim faith. The period from about 750 to 1250 is called the Golden Age of Islam. In 750, the Abbasid Caliphates instill I skipped a sentence. In 750, the Abbasid family gained control and moved the political capital to Baghdad. Other families established caliphates in still other cities. The spiritual center of Islam was always Mecca. The Abbasids established the House of Wisdom, a place for study and research in Baghdad. This center collected books, manuscripts, which are really old writings, from the Greeks, the Romans, and other civilizations. By the middle 800s, the House of Wisdom held what is believed to be the largest collection of books in the world at that time. Wow. Scholars at the House of Wisdom took a Greek idea and developed the astrolabe, a device used in astronomy. See the example at the right. Okay, so there's a picture of it. Other scholars studied medicine, geography, and other fields of knowledge. Greeks, Romans, and Arabs all had used letters from their alphabet to write numbers. Scholars at the House of Wisdom studied 10 symbols used in India and began to use those symbols to write numbers. The practice spread to Europe and eventually into other parts of the world. This is why the numerals we use are now called Arabic numerals. Arabic numerals. You've heard that phrase before, right? Divisions in Islam. I think this is going to answer our last question. Shortly after Muhammad's death, Muslims began to divide into what 2 groups? Within a few years of Muhammad's death, Muslims began to divide. We're on page 423 so that you can learn how to write this for your answer for number 5. The Sunnis wanted to elect a leader to take Muhammad's place. The Sunnis accepted as their authority both the Quran and what had been traditional Muslim practices. The Shiites, on the other hand, believed that the leader of Islam should be related to Muhammad. They accepted only the literal readings of the Quran as their authority. So we have two separate groups. That's the first paragraph on page 423. The Sunnis, that's spelled Sunnis, and then you're going to put the word and Shiites, Shiites. Okay? Sunnis and Shiites. And that's the last question, but let's keep reading. When the church was very new, Jewish leaders arrested the apostles Peter and John because they were teaching about Jesus. When the leaders questioned them, Peter said this about Jesus: "He is the stone which was rejected by you, the builders, by which became the chief cornerstone. And there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven that has been given among men by which we must be saved." And what does that mean? It means there is no other name here or on earth that you can be saved than the name of Jesus. That's the only way you can be saved. It's not Allah. It's not anybody else. It's only Jesus. And Jesus never is going to force you to follow him. He's not going to do that. But he always gives you a chance to follow him. And what's neat about Jesus is that he loved so well. He loved so well. And he loved people that a lot of people wouldn't want to love. He loved the woman that was at the well, and she had 5 husbands. And he met her there and talked with her and showed her the way. He loved, who else did he love? I mean, you look at the disciples, Matthew was a tax collector. The Jewish people didn't even love him because he collected all the money from the Jewish people to give to the Romans. He was rejected by his own people. He loved so well. You've got Mary Magdalene that he loved. She's the one who cried and washed Jesus' feet and then wiped the tears with her hair. And she had a hard past. And so no matter what you've done, and we're all sinners, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. He's not going to ever force his way, but he always gives you a way to himself. And you guys should just cling on to Jesus, okay? All right, so we're done with lesson 63 in our lesson review. Let's go ahead and get our student workbook out. And you guys know we're on page 63 because it's lesson 63, which is kind of nice, right? Okay, read the following paragraphs. Each time you come to a place where there are 2 words, circle the right word. So let's go ahead and get started. Muhammad was born into a poor family or a powerful family? Well, we read in the beginning of the lesson that it was a powerful family. All right. And he was born in Syria or Mecca? For all you people that said Mecca, you are right. Circle Mecca. That is correct. And when was he born? Was he born in 570 or 1570? Well, we know he was born in 570, not 1570. All right. Muhammad became a sailor, or was he a merchant? He was a merchant. He wasn't a sailor. When he was about 40 years old, 40 or 80 years old, he established a new religion. Was it 40 or 80? Do you guys remember? It was 40. Good job. And he called the religion Hijra. No, he called the religion Islam. Good. Muhammad believed that he was a prophet or a deity or a god. He believed he was a prophet. And he wanted to unite Africa. Nope, not Africa, right? Arabia in one faith. After Muhammad died, his teachings or journal were collected into a book called the Quran. You guys remember? It was his teachings. Good. People who follow Islam are called Muslims or sultans. They're called Muslims. Muslims captured Jericho or Jerusalem. You guys remember? It was Jerusalem. That one's a hard one because they both start with J, and they sound like from the same area. Okay, and that was in 638. Several years later, they constructed the Dome of the, is it cloud or rock? It is rock, where the Jewish temple once stood. The Muslims tried to advance into Europe, but they were defeated at the Battle of Tours or Tripoli. was the Battle of Tours, and that was in England, not France, England. Is it Baghdad or Bangkok became the Muslim capital? It is Baghdad. Good job. It became a capital in 750. A place for study and research was later established there called the House of History or the House of Wisdom. Well, you have lots of wisdom if you circled wisdom because you are right. All right, that is lesson 63, and I will see you in lesson 64.